Hail bin Jabir bin Amr bin Rabia bin Jarwah bin al-Harith bin Mazin bin Kasha bin Abs al-Absi al-Qat'i'i, from Bani Abs bin Badi bin Raith bin Ghadafan. Because he was from the offspring of al-Yaman, Jarwah bin al-Harith bin Kasha bin Abs, and Jarwah bin al-Harith was also called al-Yaman. His nickname was Abu Abdullah, and his mother was al-Rabab bin B bin Uday bin Abd al-Ashal, and she was from the Aus from the Ansar. And he was called the owner of the secret of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, and Umar ibn al-Khattab, may God be pleased with him, used to ask him about the hypocrites. Hudhayfa had 4 brothers, Sa'd, Safwan, Mudli, and Layla. As for his sons Salama and Sa'id, Hudhayfa, may God be pleased with him, grew up in a house of knowledge, jihad and faith, and he raised his children on that. Hudhayfa ibn al-Yaman embraced Islam at the beginning of the call, and migrated to the Prophet, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, and the Messenger of God, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, gave him the choice between migration and victory. Because he was an ally of Banu Abd al-Ashal from among the Ansar, so he preferred to stay with his allies, which indicates his loyalty. The Prophet, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, brotherhood between him and Ammar bin Yasir, may God be pleased with them both, and the Prophet, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, informed him of the names of the hypocrites. That is why he was called the owner of the secret of the Prophet, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, and the Prophet, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, chose him to bring news about the polytheists in the Battle of the Trench, and he was one of those who pledged allegiance in the Pledge of Allegiance to a Kaaba. Because of his rare qualities and high morals, and distinguished by his strict concealment of secrets, and his lack of confusion and adversity, the Prophet told him the names of the hypocrites and the names of their fathers, and Hudhayfa reached a high position, as he was ascribed to the Prophet, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, and testified to the tribes in his correspondences. Some of the positions of Hudhayfa bin al-Yaman. Hudhayfa bin al-Yaman, may God be pleased with him, had many great positions in Islam and in its defense, and Hudhayfa did not witness the Battle of Badr. And that is what happened with him and his father with their enemies. When the infidels of Quraysh met them and blocked their way to prevent them from going and supporting Muhammad, may God's prayers and peace be upon them. They told them that they wanted Medina, not Muhammad, so they took the covenant from them to go to Medina and not fight them. So they told the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, what happened with them, so tell them to abide by the covenant they made with them. His position in the Battle of Uhud, Hudhayfa, may God be pleased with him, participated in the Battle of Uhud, and his father was wounded in the battle, where some of the companions were killed by mistake, on suspicion of dress. Because the army hides in the nation of war and hides their faces, and there is no sign that distinguishes them from others, and when he saw his father, he said, O servants of God, my father, and God forgive those who killed him, and his blood was given in charity to Muslims, which indicates his patience in affliction and adversity, and his balance and ability to endure pain. His position on the day of the trench, Hudhayfa, may God be pleased with him, was one of those who participated in the trench invasion from its inception, and bore the burdens of defending Medina with the Prophet, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, and the rest of the noble companions. Peace, and called him by his name, to go and enter the ranks of the polytheists, feel their news, and try to reveal their secrets, after fear spread in their ranks. So he went and entered among them in implementation of the order of the Prophet, may God's prayers and peace be upon them. And that was at night, but he was quick-witted, strong certainty and faith, and good in dealing with things embarrassing, intelligent and possessed of a strong personality. He was able with these qualities to attend some of the enemy's private meetings, and knew their outward and inward news. And it was from the instructions of the prophet, may God's prayers and peace be upon him not to do anything about them. And he was so intelligent that Abu Sufyan asked his soldiers to feel each one of who was next to him. So Hadifah said, so I took the hand of the man next to me, and asked him about himself. Then I incited them to return about Medina. And when I returned to the Prophet, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, I found him praying, and when he saw me he took me to his journey. Then he bowed and prostrated. And when he greeted I told him about them, and that they wanted to leave. Hadifah bin al-Yaman, may God be pleased with him, was characterized by many good qualities and virtues, including rare intelligence, quick wit, which makes him handle crises and situations with ease, and from his intelligence that he realized that good is clear, and that evil changes in eyes. So he said about himself, people used to ask the messenger of God, may God's prayers and peace be upon him and his family, about good, and I used to ask him about evil for fear that it would overtake me. Rare courage, and the ability to act and deal with matters, including his position in the Battle of the Trench mentioned previously, as well as his ability to severely conceal secrets, which is present in intuition, correct decision, strong character, strong will, strong discipline and the application of military orders issued by the Prophet. May God's prayers and peace be upon him. Hadifah ibn al-Yaman, may God be pleased with him, died in Medina, and that was after the martyrdom of Uthman. May God be pleased with him, 40 nights, in the year 36. And Imam al-Nawawi stated that he died at the end of the month of Muharram in the 36th year of the Hijrah, and Ibn Sa'd stated that he died in Al-Mada'in, and his tomb is still in the Salman al-Farisi Mosque in Al-Mada'in.